Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today on this live stream. My name is Hassam Hassinan. I'm the program manager for the Microsoft Reactor in the Middle East and Africa. And at the Reactors, we're hubs around the world where founders and developers come together to learn about technology and all the latest that is happening in tech. From our team, the cloud advocates, the MVPs, the open source community, speakers in the field as well, and experts. And today we're thrilled to kick off an exciting series here with Julia. Julia, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Hassam. Happy to be here.
Awesome. So tell us more. What are we going to do on this new series?
Yeah, thanks so much again. So I'm really excited about this series because what we want to do is to empower, our audience to understand more about local development, that is building amazing systems without having to learn so much about the coding, fundamentals. So we're really, really excited about this series. We'll have 8 live webinars. So we're not just throwing this information to you, but rather we'll be working with you step by step, seeing how you're able to implement this and basically build amazing projects.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So I encourage everyone during today's live stream to send us questions and comments in the chat. We're basically going to address these questions as we go through, and also towards the end, we're going to have a stop and look over these questions. And at the beginning, maybe you can tell us where each one of you is watching us from. We're streaming across the region, so it will be lovely to know where are you based. And that's basically it for me for the introduction. I'm going to hand it over to Julia to continue.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Hussam. So again, just to recap, as I said, this is the first of 8 live sessions that we'll be having with all of you. And for today's session, we are joined by one of our MVPs called Shadrach, who I'll also introduce to join me on stage. And before that, any resource that we're actually going to use for this entire series can be found at aka.ms/GOL Power Platform. So once you do that, you'll be able to see this blog where we'll have provided all the resources that you will need for the entire series. So I encourage you to join that blog, send your comments to that blog. And again, if you want to join us in the learning, that is self-paced learning, we also have an ongoing challenge, which you can also find at aka.ms/GOL Power Platform Challenge. And again, throughout this session, if you learned something exciting, we also encourage you to share your learnings online, give us your feedback, your views using the Power Platform Clinics hashtag. So having shared that, I'll now introduce today's session, which is going to cover an introduction to local development. So what do we mean when we're talking about building apps, building flows, building bots without having to learn so much coding? And with me, I have Shadrach. And I think since I've already talked for very many minutes, I'll go ahead and do an introduction. Then Shadrach can go next. So my name is Julia Miruri, and I work at Microsoft as a cloud advocate. So that means that I enjoy working with communities so much. I work with academic institutions to help them get started with Microsoft tools and products and help them be more productive and efficient in a classroom setup. So these are my social handles in case you want to chat, to connect, and to ask any questions. So Shadrach, over to you as you also tell us more about this session.
Okay, so thank you so much, Julia, for that introduction. And I'm so excited to be here to learn about local development in the Microsoft Power Platform. My name is Shadrach Kiprotich. I'm a business apps Microsoft MVP and also a .NET developer. I'm also a community builder. I lead the Power Platform user group community in Kenya. And also I have experience using Microsoft Power Platform, and I'm looking so much to interaction with you. So feel free to connect with me on my socials, and we definitely learn together. So for this session, I'm looking forward to. We're going to introduce what is low code and how you can be able to leverage on the applications of the Microsoft Power Platform. So we have the components that and like comprise of the Microsoft Power Platform. So we have the Microsoft Power Apps where you can be able to build apps using low code. For Power Automate, you can be able to automate repetitive processes that you normally undergo on day-to-day basis, create workflows. So we're also going to look at that. And then also like for Power BI, you can be able to learn how to analyze and visualize your data. And then we also get to learn about Power Virtual Agents. Something very cool that you can be able to create chatbots without even writing a single line of code, and especially like for those like for the customer facing people, like who normally interact with their customers, you can be able to reduce the workflow that they normally have by creating a chatbot where your customers can be able to interact with. And then we also like learn about how to add AI into your business through using the AI builder, and learn also how to build websites on Power Pages and simple. And after that, we also see like where to get started. So after we've gotten to learn everything, it will be now like building on local technologies.
When we discovered the Power Platform, it was a game changer for us because now our team of just 2 people were able to make responsive changes and add new features as the need surfaced. We needed a technology solution that protected students' information, but also allowed our team to apply an assessment and scores in an equitable way that allowed us to get to the heart of what we're looking for in our next generation of scholars.
My favorite app is the book recording app because it helps me to give my own rating and tell what I dislike and like about it. My favorite app would be the allergies app. I have recently made this app for my friend with peanut allergies. So I decided to help her out and create an app to find out what brands she could eat from and what brands she could.
When we discovered
Okay, so that's a use case of 3 people who are able to identify on Microsoft Power Platform, and they were able to implement all the technologies. And those are some of the success stories that they had using the Microsoft Power Platform. Over to you, Julia.
Yeah, Shadrach, I really enjoyed that video. So just wanted to ask you, out of the two demos, so that is the book recording app and the peanut allergy, which was your favorite app?
It's the peanut allergy. So like you can be able to scan and be able to get to know like if it's like has got the allergy. Yeah, so that was my favorite one.
Awesome. And I think it was also my favorite one because I can already think of 20 people that can use that app, today in my own network. So yeah, that's really the kickoff of what we're going to be talking about. So we're going to start with this first component of Power Platform. As we mentioned earlier, Power Platform has 5 different components. So the first one basically is Power Apps. This one now focuses on how can you really build custom applications. And the reason why we're saying custom is that if you're in a business setup, we're talking about using your company colors, using your company standard font, and everything that is very easy to integrate and to launch a Power App in days as opposed to months. Now, the beauty of this is that, as I said earlier, you don't have to learn how to write code from the very beginning. You don't have to build out these components on your own, but rather we have a lot of existing components that you can easily drag and drop on your interface to come up with an amazing application that will help your fellow employees, your customers be more productive in their work. Now, there's the question that we've really received from a lot of people, and that is, if you claim I'll be able to build apps, then which programming language will I use? Since you claim that I don't have to learn, JavaScript, TypeScript, C#, what programming language is used in the Power Apps? So I have some good news for you. If you've used Excel before, Microsoft Excel, so you can see on these screenshots that we have someone who's trying to have a column that concatenates the first name and the last name. And as you can see at the very top here, we have a field labeled FX, and we have a formula that is inputted there. So in this case, you simply tell Microsoft Excel that I want you to take whatever is in column C and row 2, and I want you to actually have a space in between. That's why you can see the double quotes and a space in between, then add whatever is in cell D2. Now, this is how easy it is to get around with Microsoft Excel. And the good news is that this very same experience is what you'll have on Power Apps. So for this second screenshot, you'll see that we have an app that is also doing the same thing. So in this case, instead of adding the cell name, we're actually adding the name of the component. So I have 2 components here, and I tell Power Apps that I want you to take the first component. I want you to take the text property. So whatever is there in form of text, I want you to add it to what is input what is in input 2, and then I want you to display that result in this last component. That is the beauty of it. So back to your question, if you're wondering what language do we use in Power Apps, we actually use PowerFX, and you now see where that name is derived from. So in this next slide, we're going to listen more about why companies also opt to use Power Apps. So enjoy this video.
Yeah. And also join.
Typically, when we try to build an application, we start from scratch, we come up with the visual design and the wireframe, and it's a long process. We didn't have any of those luxuries when the COVID hit. The key differentiator on why we chose Power Platform is how easy and quick it is to develop solutions. Power Apps, Power Automate, and Dataverse come together and integrate very seamlessly, and that was the reason why we chose Power Platform for the PPP solution. As an IT person, it's not very often that you touch upon people's lives through your solutions. Since launching the solution, we were able to process the loan amount for 50,000 small business owners, totaling 10 billion in loan forgiveness. It feels great to have been part of this solution and to have delivered this at a very crucial time when people really needed it.
Yes. So anyone can become a developer. Julia, I saw like also for Power Apps, you can be able to use the drag and drop. Maybe perhaps might you tell us more about that before we get into the demo?
Yep, absolutely. So I'll actually use what you have on the slide right now. You can see this lovely interface. So you don't even really need to worry about how do I get to build, or rather to code out a button. How do I get to code out, and introduce external components. So all this is provided on the Power App Studio, and you're able to simply say that, hey, I want to use a button, so I'm just going to drag and drop that button on my application. And I think it will be so much easier if Shadrach, you showed everyone on the call how you can actually do this directly from the Power App Studio. So I know you had prepared something short for us, so perhaps you can go ahead and show us how the experience is on the Power App Studio itself.
Okay, so thank you so much, Julia. So let me present my screen. The purpose for today, we are going to see how you can be able to build for yourself an expense application using the Microsoft Power Platform. So like you might also be wondering like how can I keep track of my expenses that I normally use on day-to-day basis? If also my company in the accounting department and I need to track all the expenses that belong to my company, what kind of solution can I be able to develop within a very short period of time? So with Power Apps, you can be able to develop something like that using the Power App Studio. And for you to access the Power App Studio, go to powerapps.com, where you can be able to access. So it's powerapps.microsoft.com. So like once you get there, you can be able to log in, and it will navigate you into the Power App Studio, where you can be able to build your application. So as you can be able to see on the left-hand side, we have the various pages that we have here. So like for instance, on the first page is where my expenses is. And as Juliet mentioned that you can be able to use the drag and drop. So like if you want to insert something, so like you can just use the drag and drop and be able to have it on your screen. So like for instance, like for this, you want to edit like this button over here. So like you can be able to see all the changes that I'm able to make. And on the formula bar here, you can be able to see the Power FX formula, the local language that you can be able to develop. And it's very simple actually, and you can be able to see it's just similar to what we normally have in Excel, in Excel formulas. So it's very simple. So, and then also like you can be able to add like more features into it. Like now, like for instance, if I want to see like how many how many open expenses are there, the pending expenses and the approved, and I can be able also like to view all of them. So this is something that you can be able to develop like yourself. And then also like you can be able to connect to your various data sources where they are stored. So just by like navigating around here, you can be able to insert other components, and also like insert the media and everything. So just a quick one, I can just be able to show live this application in use. So if I click on play, you can be able to see everything that is here. So like for instance, I can be able to say we have open expenses, that's $200. We have pending expenses and approved expenses. So let me just try and make a new entry. So if I click on add, so it will navigates me here to create a new expense report. So I want to create an expense. So like for instance, maybe I'm budgeting for a trip. So I can just indicate there. And then the approver, I can go to like see who approves my expenses. Like for instance, if it's my company and I have a manager and I want them to approve my expenses, so I can just select the approver. And also the cost center, like perhaps it's Microsoft or Contosa, and then I can just be able to create it. So once I be able to create it, it will be able to like navigate it to open, and then I can also like be able to edit it. So like if I need to make more changes into my application, I can just be able to edit using this button here and make like other several changes that I want to make. So I can also be able to add the cost, like perhaps it might be $5,000. So I can be able to also add save and add a new line. So and also like the category of the expense. So if it's transportation, I can also be able to add that. And maybe a short description about what the expense is all about. So I can also be able to add like maybe it's a work trip or a field work. So those are the kind of description that you're supposed to add. So I can be able to add the price also, and just by clicking on save, I can be able to access all the expenses that are here. So if I go back and navigate to my homepage, I can be able to see the expenses that I created already, and it's already open. So just waiting for approval, and then it will go to the approved page here. And then once it your manager approves it, you can be able to view it here. And also like we have some filter button. So if you want to filter like from a specific date to a specific date, you can definitely do that. And then also for Power Apps, you can be able to connect to various data sources that you have within your application. So like that's it about the overview of the Power App Studio. So like let me just go back to our slides.
I mean, this is really great, and I just want to share that in case you want to learn more about how do you get started, how do you build these components. Next week on Tuesday we have a session that will be purely on Power Up. So join that session to learn exactly how do you build this from scratch. So we could go to the next slide. And I don't know if you had anything else to add around Power Ups, Shadrach.
Not really, but I'm looking forward to next week's session where I can be able to build amazing applications. Yeah.
Sounds good. Sounds good. So this next component is honestly one of my favorites, and that is Power Automate. And the reason why I love this so much is because I get to focus on higher priority tasks and have Power Automate do the rest for me. What do I mean by this? Power Automate is one of Power Platform's components that actually helps you build workflows that automate your daily and repetitive tasks. So that means if let's say you work in a hotel and every single day you have to go to the desk, you have to check how many people sent in vacation requests, and then you need to send customized messages to all these people. You actually spend a lot of time doing that manually. But with the beauty of Power Automate is that you actually get to configure a flow to do that on your behalf, and you can do something completely different. Now, on this slide, you can actually see something that is pretty interesting and pretty new. So everyone is talking about the new, advances in the field of AI. And you probably wonder, with the Power Platform, do we also get to tap into these advancements in the field of AI? So you can see on this slide, what we have is that I was able to instantly get a summary report from what is currently trending on Twitter on my Teams page. And how I was able to do this is to configure a flow. And if you're interested in learning more about this flow, I invite you to look for a training that was conducted last week by an individual called Chams. So you can actually find that training on LinkedIn. We are happy to share the link, and you can actually get an understanding of how this flow works. But an overview is that you actually provide a prompt. So I said that I want you to give me whatever is trending about Microsoft. And then that prompt is actually, we're going to use the OpenAI Independent Publisher Connector, which you're also going to learn more about in the next few minutes. And then from that, I'm able to extract a specific search term. So in my prompt, this flow is able to extract that I'm interested in learning about Microsoft. Then it's going to use that search term and get more tweets regarding Microsoft. And then it's going to send that back to my teams. And I do all this just sitting on my computer on Teams, and I get that summary report, as you can see at the middle of this slide. It gives me a brief summary, it lists the trending topics, and it also shares links to, the most followed tweeters who are, contributing to this conversation. So this is the beauty of Power Automates. And Shadrach, if we could move on to the next slide for you to share more about why you should, definitely use Power Automate, and just give more insights around what you expect on this platform.
Okay, thank you so much, Julia. And very sure like you're wondering why this is Julia's favorite. So with Power Automate, you can be able to automate those repetitive tasks. Like for instance, you manually download attachments within your emails and upload them to your drive. So this is something that you can be able to automate it. So like once you get an email that has got attachments, it automatically saves it to your drive. So like you might be wondering, is it limited just to one drive since it's Microsoft? But no. With now like data connectors, you can be able to upload to like your drive where like wherever you want your data to be stored. So if it's on Google Drive, if it's on Dropbox, you can be able to upload all your attachments there. And then also like you can be able to like with Power Automate, you can also be able to create workflows. So like for instance, all the approvals that you want within your company or like within like yourself as an individual, you can be able to create workflows within it. So like a case for this, for instance, you want to apply for a leave and you have to undergo some processes for you, like for your manager to approve. So like you can just be able to create a workflow that once you make an application, a leave request application, it goes to the manager and the manager approves it. It goes to the next person and you can be able to get response. And also something else you can be able to integrate with other applications. So with custom connectors, you can be able to connect build your own custom connector. So like where your data is stored. So like with just an API, you can be able to create a custom connector where you can be able to integrate with other applications. So and currently Power Platform has got 900 plus custom connectors that are built by individuals. So you can be able to access all those 900 plus connectors. So don't get worried about will I be limited to Microsoft technologies? But no, you can be able to connect with to like 900 plus connectors. And then also like you can be able to send notifications. So like for instance, with just a click of a button, you can be able to send notifications. So for instance, like there is a trigger that you would normally have that goes every day. So like you can be able to when with Power Automate, we have got several types of flows. So like with triggers, you can be able to send notification once an action happens, and also like you can be able to schedule tasks. So like for instance, if there is a task that is to be assigned to someone like the next day, then definitely like you can be able to do that. And this might be able to apply to like program managers and also like business application users. And then also like we have a component on the Microsoft Dataverse where it allows you to create and store your data within the Microsoft Power Platform. So this is a form of like kind of a database that stores your information like within the Microsoft Power Platform. And you're wondering like how secure it is. It's definitely very secure. We have the role-based securities, we have the authentication, authorization, and also like we have a good logic within the Microsoft Dataverse. And also you can also be able to integrate with other applications. So for instance, if you want to connect it with your GitHub, then definitely like you can be able to do that within the Microsoft Dataverse. And take this in terms of like the normal tables that you normally have. We have the columns and the rows. So with also like Dataverse, we also have those tables and rows. Yeah. So back to you, Julia.
Yeah, that's great. And maybe before we get into Power BI, I'm sure you're also wondering more about how can I connect to external data sources, as I've seen on the chat. And I keep encouraging you all to post your questions on the chat. We'll try and address as many of them as we possibly can. So there's a link that will be shared, an aka.ms/connector, a custom connector guide. And this actually provides you with how you can build custom connectors for your own services. So if you build an amazing API and you want it to be accessible from the Power Platform, again, you can build a custom connector and allow global users to potentially use your API. So we are happy to share more about that throughout this series. As I said, we'll learn more about Power Automate and creating connectors in the upcoming sessions. So if you're also wondering any use cases of Power Automate, I actually challenge all of you, pick something that you've learned so far, just head to Twitter and do a tweet, then use the hashtag Power Platform Clinics. So if you do that, you'll realize that I'm currently on this call, but in a couple of seconds, I'm going to retweet your tweet. So that is just one use case of how I am using Power Automate to. So right now, as we continue this session, as you share your learnings online using that hashtag, my account is automatically going to retweet and share with more people about what you're taking away from this session. So I encourage you to do that as we proceed. And with that, we're going to get started with the third component of Power Platform, and that is Power BI. This is also another powerful component. And I say this because someone once said that if you have a lot of data, I mean, everyone has a lot of data, so that does not give you any power. But the ability to understand that data, the ability to extract meaningful insights, and the ability to actually use that data to make business decisions is what actually gives more industries a higher advantage than the others. So with Power BI, you're actually able to introduce business intelligence to your data. You're able to extract, visualizations. You're able to have an interactive way of interacting with the data. As you can see on this slide, we not only have a report that is static, but you can also interact and filter your data, analyze more about specific countries. So basically, with this tool, it gives you the power to add and load your data, and with that, you're able to understand so much about what that data tells you in terms of making business decisions. So on this next slide, you're going to see one of the powerful features of Power BI, called Power BI Power Query Editor. So a lot of you are wondering, if I have my raw data, how do I actually get it into Power BI and have it give me the best insights and the best results regarding what I'm looking for? So with that, we have the Power Query Editor that actually allows you to transform and to perform, other additional actions to your raw data. So for example, on this screenshot, you'll be able to see that we have some raw data, and this data has some information that is not constant. So we have a column called postal code. We have some fields that are null. Others have records. And I don't want to load my visual with all of these inconsistencies. So what I'm going to do is that using the Power Query Editor, I'm able to transform my data. I'm able to actually make it to be exactly how I want it to be to get the best results. And as you can see on the very right, you can see how easy it is for you to get started with Power BI. You basically just load in your Excel or wherever your data is stored, and you can see that we have several visualizations that you can use to extract more insights about your data. So Shadrach, I don't know if you've used Power BI before, or can you share an interesting use case of Power BI?
Yeah, sure. So, an like an interesting case that I've been able to use on Power BI is I was analyzing data of 1,000 people. So it was a project that my company was undergoing, and once I joined the company, I was able to clean that data. So, like with Power Query Editor, there was some kind of specific rows and fields that I did not need, and also there was some kind of rows and columns that were not aligned to like they were not uniform. Let me just put it across that way. So what I did with Power Query Editor, so I just came here and made some changes, and then once I was satisfied with what I had, and then I was now able now to build like a dashboard where you can be able to filter out and see the project. So for this specific project that I was working on, it was based on 6 counties here in, locally. So with these 6 counties, like you can be able to filter out and see the kind of project that was undergoing within those specific counties, and also like be able to see the dashboard reflecting across. So like with the filter, it modifies and changes across everything. And then something interesting also, I was able to pull images from my Google Drive, where for this specific project, it needed me to use Power BI specifically and pull photos for the project. So with Google Drive, I was able to pull those images and be able to visualize them, and you could be able to see them on a dashboard. that was the most interesting thing that I was able to do within like with that report. Yeah.
Awesome. And I'm just curious to understand how much time did you actually spend learning about Power BI? Was it months, weeks, days? How long did it take you to get started using the tool?
Okay, so definitely like 2 months. So I was able to grasp like everything, but also like something on Google Drive. It's something that I'd never implemented, and it was needed in that report. So I just took like a single day to learn about like pulling images from Google Drive, and it's something that I can say like Power BI. It's very simple to learn, and you can be able to learn and implement within a very short period of time. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Great. So there's another question that I've had, and probably you can move on to the next slide since that answers the question. And that is, can I use
Yeah.
Power BI on my mobile? So Shadrach, what do you have to share regarding that?
Yeah. So with Power BI, we've got three components, which is the Power BI desktop, and then also like we have the software as a service, which is the Power BI service, where you can be able to access it online, and also like you can also be able to view your reports on your mobile phone. So just by downloading the Power BI like from the iOS. Like we also have the iOS version and also like the Android version. So once a report is shared with you, you can be able to view them directly from your phone. So you don't really have to go back to your laptop or to your desktop to be able to view the reports. And also like you can be able to view the data in real time. So wherever you are, you can just be able to log in into your like mobile application and be able to view your report. And also like with Power BI, you can be able to see that you can be able to create interactive visualizations and dashboards. So like and those data like can be in real time, and like you have access to like lots of visualization. And also like something else, you're not limited to the visualizations that you normally see on the table. So like you can be able to add like other visualizations like into your report. And also like you can be able to combine data and from multiple sources. So like for instance, you don't have to worry that I need to export all of my data into the Power BI. So like wherever your data is stored, so like everything is sorted out within the Microsoft Power BI. So like for instance, like you want to pull the data from your SQL server, so like you don't need to worry about now like where should I export my data from SQL server and bring them to Power BI. No, you can just be able to connect them directly. Yeah. How about you, Julia?
Awesome. Great. Thank you so much, Shadrach, for sharing that. So as we move on to the fourth component of Power Platform, something I'm just going to mention about Power BI is that if you're on Windows, you can definitely use the desktop, but currently Power BI desktop is not supported for other operating systems. So you can also use the Power BI service, which is online, in case you're not on Windows. And with that, we're going to move on to our fourth component. And let me just emphasize more that we're just giving you an overview of these different components. But in the upcoming sessions, we're going to dive deeper and we'll actually be able to learn how you can do all these things on your own. So with Power Virtual Agents, as you can see on this lovely image that Shadrach thought of sharing with us on this slide, this is basically having your customers, having people interact with you, but indirectly. That is via virtual agents and that is via bots. So what do I mean? Let's think of a company that has a website, a customer-facing website, and every now and then we have customers visiting this website and asking the same questions over and over again. So this month we'll have 500 customers asking something about their services. The next month we'll have even a larger number of people inquiring more about this. So instead of having someone sit on a desktop and actually manually respond to all this organization can be able to build a virtual agent and they will train it to actually respond to these questions, giving them enough time to focus on higher priority tasks, just not sitting behind a computer and in real time responding to people. Now this is something that I've seen being implemented, and you've actually seen this in a lot of the sites that you visit where you'll get a bot asking how it can help. So that is one of the use cases of Power Virtual Agents. And Shadrach, I don't know if you have ever heard of any interesting stories around virtual agents that you'd want to share.
Yeah, we have lots of stories, and there is one particular story that I've heard of the Miami Dolphins. So I don't know, like, if anyone has ever heard of that It's majorly known for football, where it normally hosts like wide range of activities, sports, and entertainment events. So definitely, like you can imagine, like how many people visit their website just to inquire about the activities that are undergoing within that arena, and also like the kind of facilities that they can be able to access. So just imagine like a situation where we have a peak season where we have an ongoing football activity or an event, and definitely like people want to know more about the event. So for this particular one, you might imagine like all the customer care people and how many emails they normally respond within a single time. And the Miami Dolphins were able to create a chatbot using the power of virtual agents, where they were able to reply to 40,000 conversations that people were asking about their activities and also like their facilities that they can be able to have within a specific period of time, or whenever they have an event. And also like since it's known for football, and definitely like the customers need to know about like a match ongoing or any other kind of activity. So and this was able to solve at least 97% of the task that like the customer team was working on. And like definitely like you can imagine like how tedious this is. Yeah, so like that was the best scenario that I've ever had, of a company that was able to implement Power Virtual Agents, and just with 40,000 conversations that were able to become automated. So like that was something incredible for me.
Awesome. So maybe we can move on to the next slide and you can see one other amazing implementation of virtual agents. And again, I'll talk about OpenAI because, well, that's the new kid in town. And as you can see from this screenshot, the customer using this virtual agent is actually not just training this virtual agent with their own company data, but they're actually using Power Automate. As you can see on on your right, they're using Power Automate to actually query an open AI model, and they're able to empower this bot to not only have responses to the the data that they've provided it with, but to actually unlock it to give you like an infinite amount of data from the internet, and that's available out there. So this is also one way that you can also leverage the emerging technologies such as the open AI models that everyone is talking about. And as you can see on this screenshot, you're able to make queries not on open AI, but you're able to do this directly from Power Virtual Agents. Again, we'll have a session down the line in this series that helps you get started with implementing this if it's something you'd want to pursue more. So I think that's all about Power Virtual Agents. And as we move on to the next slide, I can see a lot of questions regarding how do we get started. I'm no longer a student. So in the next couple of minutes, we're going to actually dive deeper into the resources that you can tap to and get started with this journey. So something else that is not mentioned as a Power Platform component is the AI Builder that I will also invite you to share more about.
Okay, so thank you so much, Julia, for that. So, with AI Builder, you can be able to add artificial intelligence into your business application. So, you might be able to have those kind of you want to use an AI model, but you don't have skills to build a model using like languages like Python, like to be able to create an AI model for your business or like just for you as an individual. So, with AI Builder is a low code solution where you can be able to add intelligence into your business. So how can you achieve this? So with AI Builder, you've got just 5 steps within the AI Builder, and you're ready to go with your model. So first of all, like you need to identify the business process that needs an AI model, and then after you've identified, you choose your AI model type that you want to use, and then connect to your data. So like where your data is stored. So and with the multiple custom connectors, you can be able to connect easily with your where your data is stored. And then you twitch the model to meet your needs. So like for instance, if you want to detect objects within your business, so that is what I meant by tailoring the model to meet your specific needs. And then after you've done that, you train the model and then use the model in your application. And the good news about the AI Builder is that we have the pre-built models, and also like you can go to build your own custom models. And what I meant by the pre-built model is some of the cases that we normally have are similar across the businesses, and definitely like you can just leverage on that. So if I can just stop sharing my screen and take you to where we have the AI builder. So this is the AI builder. So within Power Apps, you can only access the AI builder in Power Automate and Power Apps. And as you can be able to see, like these are the kind of information that you can be able to have. So like you can imagine like language detection, we have the documents, text, and images. So like these are the various pre-built models. So like for instance, if you want to extract information from your invoice, then this is what you normally do. And like let me just do a demo on this, and you can be able to see like you've got lots of information about the AI builder here, and we're going to be able to go deep into it like during this Power Platform clinic. So be sure to join us when we have the AI builder. So for this specific case, let me try and use language detection. So if I can just be able to click on that, so I can be able to just test my model here. So like such a case like it's similar across business. So like for instance, where you deal with lots of countries and you want to you want to get a response. So like you can just translate the language that you want. So if you want to translate that one to an Italian, so just type on that and then click on translate. So once you can be able to do that, you can be able to view the response just gives confidence score. So like you can be able to see here, we have the translation of this text into Italian and the confidence score is 100%. So, and then, okay, let me try something else. So let me translate Kiswahili to English. So habari yako basically means it's greetings in Kiswahili. So let me translate that to English and you can be able to see the response directly. So if I click on translate text, you can be able to see the language code here, which basically habari yako means how are you, and the confidence score is 100%. So after you've done, you're satisfied, then you can be able to use it in a Power Automate flow and use it also in your application. So those are just some of the cool cases that we have. So be sure to join us in one session where you can be able to learn how you can be able to use that in an application or your Power Automate flow. Yeah.
Awesome, Shadrach. I'm looking forward to a day when I'll build an app and actually use these models in my own application. So I know we mentioned that we have 5 components of Power Platform. So far, we've talked about 4. So this very last one is actually pretty new, and this is a new way for you to have direct engagement with your external facing customers. So what do I mean by this? If you want to build a company website in practically no time, you can literally spend hours just getting a site up. We are happy to introduce that we have the Power Pages, which actually empower you to build a very customized experience of a website that will allow your customers to interact with your data, to interact with your services in the very best experience possible. So I know that this is pretty new. So honestly, I've not really heard of like very many use cases of Power Pages. But Shadrach, I'm curious to hear if you've had anything that has been shared around how the experience is with Power Pages.
Yes, so I had one use case, but I can't really remember the name of the company. So they were facing a challenge on they wanted a specific application for a specific period of time, and they did not want to like hire a developer, maybe like pay for the database, maybe like it might be able to take a lot of time. So like with what they already had, and since Power Pages is something that you can be able to quickly build and be able to allow external people to be able to use your application, then they built that amazing application for that short period of time. So it was kind of an event happening in the next couple of days. So like that, like hence they thought of like, oh, we have Power Pages and it's really it's recently like within the components of Power Platform. Why can't we use it? And then they were able to implement that, and the people outside the organization, since Microsoft Power Platform like just only allows you to be able to use your Office account, and it might be limited to the people within your organization unless you add them to the Azure Active Directory. But now with Power Pages, you can be able to allow like people to be able to like sign in into your account. And since I mentioned something on data bus where you can be able to have security based roles, and also like we have the authentication and authorization. So they were able to achieve that. People were able to sign in and they were able to track everything within the Power Pages. So within a very short period of time, and that is something that you can also implement within a short period of time.
Oh, sounds great. So as we move on to the next slide, I just wanted to, reiterate on a statement that was briefly mentioned in one of the videos we've played, that everyone and anyone can be a developer. And that's the beauty of Power Platform. You don't have to, come from a computer science background, but you can easily get started with building, as you've had, websites, applications, Power BI reports, and easily kickstart your career in local development. Now, there's this slide that we threw into this presentation because we may have a few of us who are also interested in extending their knowledge around different Power Platform, or rather pro developer tools such as VS Code. So we're also happy to announce that we have the Power Platform CLI that allows you to actually build this site on a preferred editor such as VS Code, and you actually value that experience of writing code, writing HTML code, just that experience from a pro developer's perspective. You're able to easily integrate that. We're building out a Power Page, that is a website directly from VS Code, then have it deployed on the Power Platform to be accessed by everyone. So I find this to be very, very exciting, and we thought of sharing with you. And again, we have another session specifically on Fusion development, that is, how do we integrate the different fields, that is, citizen developers, anyone with no coding background, and the pro developers. How can we build teams that actually leverage the skill sets of these two diverse groups? So in case you're interested in learning more as well, let us know on the chat and we'll be able to have more sessions, addressing such issues. So could we move on to the next slide, perhaps? In the interest of time, I know we'll now start talking about where do you get started, right? So I know this is a question that I've seen popping up on the chat. And in case you don't have a school email address, don't worry about it. We have the M365 developer program, and I believe the link has already been shared on the chat. So what this actually offers you is a free tenant, a free sandbox that you can use to build, and test out Power Platform solutions. So at the end of signing up, you will get your own email address in the format. So your name, username, at the name of the tenant, then at the very end, it's going to have a on Microsoft.com extension, as you can see at the bottom of this slide. So with that email address, you're able to log into a default environment that will have been created for you. And as you can see, you'll also have access to all the Office 365 applications. Everything that you need to get started with Power Platform development will also be provided to you from this program. You'll also be able to have access to the advanced analytics capabilities of Power BI, and you'll also get access to an Azure Active Directory that you'll be using for your advanced identity management needs that you might need for your own solutions. So I'd also love to mention that this is completely free. You don't have to be a student. Anyone who's really interested in building something for the Power Platform, I'd recommend you start from here, create your own free account, and then go ahead and build everything. So on this next slide, we're also going to talk briefly about the Power Apps Developer Plan. Now you're wondering what's the difference between these two programs. So just to try and clarify that, with the previous program, that is the M365 Developer Plan, you will get access to a default environment that will be created for you once you sign up. So you don't really have so much to control in that environment. So if you want to explore and do more, create new environments. For example, you may want to have a test environment, a production, environment. You can now sign up for an extra Power Apps developer plan. And again, for you to actually sign up for this plan, you only need to have to be backed with an Azure Active Directory, which you've seen is also provisioned in the previous offer. So actually, a recommended pipeline is that you sign up for the M365 developer plan, get your credentials, then sign up for the Power Apps developer plan. And I believe some links will be shared on the chat for you to access these services. And then with this plan, you'll be able to create up to 3 free environments for you to play around with more Power Platform tools. you'll be able to share your solutions. And this also comes with the provision of deploying your applications on Microsoft App Store and App Source, and having them being shared by your customers for them to test out. And again, you also have access to premium connectors. If you want to connect to more and more data sources, this plan will be exactly what you need. In terms of limits, you can see that you can build up to 750 flows per month, and then you get 2 GB for free in terms of the database size. So anyone looking to explore this, I would definitely recommend these plans. I don't know, Shadrach, if you have anything to mention on these two amazing offers.
Yes. So, and also like you've been able to see that you can be able to create three free environments. So everyone would like to be an administrator, or you can be able to create multiple environments, like and try and testing them out. So definitely like this is a good plan also. And also like with the M365 developers account, you can also become your own administrator. Just create all the roles and everything you want within the Power Platform. Yeah, so that's something cool.
Awesome. So as we near the end of the session, I know we have some good news for anyone who is currently in university. So Shadrach, what do we have in store for anyone who's currently enrolled in an academic institution?
Yes, we have the Power Platform University program, so which is 100% online and self-paced program for learners, like especially students, where we have interactive learning paths, and you can be able to access lots of resources and also courses that you can be able to access. So like we have several courses on Power Platform where you can be able to undertake them and also earn a certification. And for this specific certification, you'll get two certifications for free. So like we have like the PL 100 certification, and the and the PMI certification, that is globally recognized certification. So, and with the Power Platform University Hub, where it enables you to be able to learn effectively on Power Platform and be able to become ready for the next step in your career. So this is a good program for you as a student, and you can be able to learn more about the Power Platform University Hub just by logging in and going to the Power Platform University Hub, and you can be able to see more about what you can be able to learn as a student, and also download all the resources. And the good thing about what I love about the Power Platform Hub program is that it has got the self-paced learning material. So with your free time, you can be able to browse and be able to access all the content free.
Sounds good. Sounds good. So I know we have a couple of questions on chat to get to, but probably we can go through the next few slides very, very fast. And this one basically just highlights one of the goals we have for this series. So at the end of this series, we have prepared resources that once you go through these resources throughout this month, you'll have already gone through what you need to go through in preparation for a free Power Platform Fundamental certification offered from Microsoft, and this is industry recognized. So that means as you're seeking, employment opportunities, you could actually get this certification for free to validate that indeed you have that experience with, Power Platform and local development. So towards this, you can see that as a student, you actually get up to 8 free fundamentals certification exams that you can claim for free. And that way we have shared some links in case you want to learn more about how do I get these certifications. You can visit the Microsoft Student Hub, and the shortened link is aka.ms/learnstudent. You'll be able to see all the certifications that you can claim. And we also have a resource that we can share in terms of how do you claim your vouchers, how do you be able to actually schedule an exam and sit for an exam, hopefully pass and get your free certification. So as I mentioned earlier, the resources that we provided on the challenge will help you prepare. And as we wind up this series on the 2nd of March, hopefully we'll have as many of you sitting for that exam as possible. So for this next slide, we are going to just talk more about, so maybe you can move on to the next slide. We're going to talk more about what is coming next. So for this session, what we've done, we've introduced you to the entire Power Platform. So that is all the components. So next Tuesday, that is 7th February, same time, we'll now have a session with one of our MVPs called Stefano, and he's now going to take you step by step in terms of how do you build an application, how do you, test out your application on Power Apps. So I encourage you to all register for this at GOL aka.ms/GOL Power Platform. You'll get our schedule there and show your SPP for that session. Then, as a call to action from this event, thank you so much for joining. And we have some modules on the challenge that we would need you to go through. So with this slide on, we really appreciate your feedback. So we have a survey that we really encourage you all to share with us. What did you think about this event? How can we improve the upcoming sessions? And as you do that, hopefully right now, we'll be getting into some of the questions on the chat. So Shadrach, I don't know if you've identified any question you want to answer first.
Okay. I'm not sure. Let me stop sharing it so that I can be able to access the chat and answer a few questions.
So let me also read out some of the questions. So we have Levi who's asking, can you connect other tools, not really Microsoft apps, to Power Automate? So I believe Shadrach briefly mentioned about this, but he also talked about something called custom connectors. So right now, if you visit the list of the tools, or rather the services you can access from Power Platform, and you find that the specific service you want to access is not yet available, you can easily build your own custom connector to connect to that external data source. And I say this having gone through that experience myself. I realized that from the Power Platform, I wasn't able to, utilize something like Google Photos. And so I went ahead and I built that custom connector, allowing you to access Google Photos directly from my Power App. And so I invite you to go through the list of published connectors, and you'll be able to see more sources, that you can actually connect to. Shadrach, any input regarding that question?
Yes, so I can just add like something about, so like for instance, you want to access some information maybe from an API that is external within the Microsoft Power Platform. So like you can be able to create a connector that wraps it around like the API, and you can be able to access those data right from the Power Platform. So if it's your application and you want to create an application and you want to access data from your API that you've built, you can just definitely like do that within the custom connector that you have and be able to access it within the Microsoft Power Platform.
Awesome. Great.
Yeah.
So I've seen another interesting question from Francis, who is asking, why should one use Power Query editor instead of Microsoft Excel? So that is an amazing question. I'll give it a try, then Shadrach, maybe you can share your input as well. So think of Power Query as the last step to you loading your data to Power BI. So your data may actually be sitting on Microsoft Excel, but you want to do some advanced modeling to that data before you can actually build your reports. So what I mean by advanced modeling is that with the Power Query, you're actually able to provide AI insights by connecting to services like Custom Vision or AI Machine, like Azure AI, for you to also extract more insights from your data before you can actually load it into the visual. Again, if you have any experience with languages like Python and R, you're able to also apply the script in those languages to do more modeling to your data before you're able to load it to the Power BI. So to that question, think of Excel as a data source, and then Power Query and Power BI, the tools that you use, together for you to build out your reports and your dashboards and everything else. So Shadrach, do you have like anything else to add on that?
Not really, Julia, but you've exhausted everything. But something else also like the good thing about Power Query is that you have multiple sources. So like you might be limited in Excel, but with the Power Query editor, like just inside the Power BI, you can be able to do that also, and it has got lots of features. So that's an input also.
Awesome. So I know we are at time. So before we leave, I don't know, Shadrach, if you have one final thing for our audience that you'd like to share in terms of Power Platform.
Thank you so much for joining us for this session. So like perhaps this is just a challenge to you. So like you don't need like 10 plus years of experience for you to be able to build applications, automate process within your company, or just you as an individual. But with the Microsoft Power Platform, you can be able to do that within a very short period of time and be able to see a huge impact. As you've seen, like on the on the use cases that I was having, we have like lots of data that we're able to like automated, And then also we like for instance like a specific use case on the boat like the Miami Dolphins where they were able to respond to 40,000 conversations. So it's something that the IT department did like within a very short period of time, and they never did like learn a programming language for them to achieve that. It's definitely on the local development. So hopefully like you'll be able to join us in these other series where you can be able to now get hands-on and be able to build all these like use all these within the Microsoft Power Platform. Yeah. So thank you so much, Julia.
Awesome, awesome. And again, thank you all so much for joining. So I do know we have some questions that we've not been able to address. So I invite you to share your questions on social media, tag us, use the Power Platform Clinics hashtag, as well on the blog that we are using for the entire series, that is aka.ms/GOL Power Platform. You can also log in and provide your comments there. So again, we'll be able to respond to your questions. And before we leave, one thing I love mentioning about Power Platform is that you don't really have to think of it this way. You don't really have to learn it, right? If you don't want to use Power Platform, that's totally fine. Now, the only issue comes when your competitors are using tools like the Power Platform, because you'll realize that, hey, my competitors are deploying applications in 6 weeks, and I'm taking 6 months to do the same thing. So that's the thing about Power Platform. It's an emerging technology, and not learning, or rather not understanding how it works, might end up having you, being down the ladder in terms of the competition space. So I encourage you to take on this skilling challenge. Learn with us. As I said, we'll meet you next week on Tuesday, but engage with us online, share your questions, share what you've learned, and we'll be able to interact with you more. So with that, I think we can close off the session. Again, remember to give us your feedback on the link to the survey. We'll be able to know what we can focus more and what you're really looking to learn on. So with that, I think we can call it a day. Thank you all for joining. See you next week.
Goodbye.